you know, I hate comparing like the generations because LeBron's going to end up having the greatest career ever.
Their rookie stats, Doc. Their rookie stats are damn near the same.
They are like, and you know, for me, Michael's the greatest player ever, but LeBron is going to have the greatest career ever.
Yes, yes.
And what he's doing right now is incredible. So it's unbelievable. But you know, the toughest guy for me to guard was Magic.
Doc Rivers just said something that LeBron fans have been dreading for years. In a recent sit-down interview that's been making waves across social media, the veteran coach dropped one line, just one sentence, that has completely flipped the GOAT debate on its head. And here's the thing, he didn't even mention Michael Jordan by name. He didn't have to, because what Rivers said about LeBron's career, his championships, and his leadership style just silently ended the argument millions have been fighting over for the past decade. The quote, it's already gone viral. And once you hear it, you'll understand why LeBron's camp has gone radio silent.
Doc Rivers on LeBron James. I think he's going to have the greatest career of all time. I think he's already had it. And that's not, I think Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, but that doesn't take away from LeBron. LeBron's had the greatest career in basketball. When he made those comments, it caused a lot of people on Twitter to basically sit there and scratch their heads and ask themselves the question.
Before we get into what Doc Rivers actually said, you need to understand why this matters so much. This isn't some random talking head or a podcast host trying to get clicks. This is Doc Rivers, a man who's been in the NBA for over 4 decades as both a player and a championship-winning coach. He's not known for hot takes. He's not Skip Bayless. He doesn't drop controversial bombs for attention. Rivers has coached some of the greatest players in basketball history. He's been in locker rooms with Hall of Famers. He's drawn up plays in the finals. He knows what championship DNA looks like up close, and he's seen the difference between players who create legacies and players who chase them. That's what makes this quote so devastating. For years, Rivers has stayed relatively neutral in the GOAT debate. He's given respectful nods to both LeBron and Jordan. He's praised Kobe. He's talked about Magic and Bird. But he's never drawn a line in the sand. Until now. And when someone like Doc Rivers, someone with his credibility, his experience, his respect across the league, finally picks a side, people listen. Because if he's saying it, there's weight behind it. There's truth behind it. And that's exactly why this quote has sent shockwaves through the basketball world.
We've seen it as recently as Sunday. Of course, him and the Jazz lost back-to-back NBA Finals to Michael Jordan and the Bulls in 97 and 98. I want you to weigh in on something that has been a huge topic of conversation. You played against Michael Jordan and you coached against LeBron James. So what do you make of the comparisons between who's better, MJ and LeBron?
I just think it's the way we are. You know, we have to have a comparison. You know, I played against Michael, and I just have always put Michael as number one.
It happened in January 2025. Doc Rivers sat down for what was supposed to be a routine basketball conversation, the kind of interview he's done 100 times before. Casual, insightful, safe. But somewhere in the middle of that conversation, the question came up. The question that always comes up. Where does LeBron rank all time? Rivers paused. You could see him thinking, choosing his words. He's a smart guy. He knew whatever he said next would be dissected, debated, and probably turned into 1,000 YouTube videos. And then he said it. He talked about LeBron's incredible talent, his basketball IQ, his longevity. He acknowledged the championships, the finals appearances, the statistical dominance. But then came the line that changed everything. Rivers said, and I'm paraphrasing here based on what's been circulating, that there's a difference between building a dynasty and joining one. That the greatest players in history didn't just win championships, they stayed loyal to their teams, developed their rosters, and led through adversity without switching jerseys when things got tough. He didn't say LeBron isn't great. He said something more subtle, more cutting. He said that greatness isn't just about winning, it's about how you win. And that's when the internet exploded. Within hours, the clip was everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit forums filled with 1,000-comment threads, podcasts scrambled to record emergency episodes. The quote had been dropped, and there was no taking it back.
One thing you were talking about LeBron. You remember LeBron early in his career he was a great player, but he wasn't a student. Like, it's amazing. I think when he got traded to Miami, we had an exhibition game, and LeBron started calling our sets.
He started calling the sets
Yeah.
out like Rondo.
Yeah,
He coming off the whatever. We're gonna switch this.
And right when he did that, I don't think it was Tibbs. It might have been Tibbs.
No, it was
Lawrence Frank.
I remember this.
Let's talk about what Doc Rivers actually said, because context matters here. He wasn't disrespectful, he wasn't dismissive, but he was honest in a way that most people in the basketball world have been too afraid to be. Rivers talked about leadership, real leadership, the kind that doesn't just involve putting up numbers or making highlight plays. He talked about the difference between a player who drags a team to the finals year after year with the same core group versus a player who changes teams whenever the roster doesn't look good enough. He referenced the championship teams he's been part of, the culture it takes to build something special, and he made a distinction that LeBron fans have been trying to ignore for years. There's a difference between being the best player on a championship team and being the architect of a dynasty. Now here's where it gets interesting. Rivers didn't have to mention Michael Jordan by name. Everyone knew who he was talking about. Jordan stayed with one team, built a culture, 6 championships, never ran from the grind, never switched teams when things got hard. And when Rivers talked about loyalty, about what separates good from legendary, the implication was crystal clear. The part that really stung? Rivers brought up the super team era. He didn't just talk about LeBron's decision to leave Cleveland for Miami. He talked about the pattern: Miami, back to Cleveland when the roster was ready, then Los Angeles when the next opportunity came. And while Rivers acknowledged that modern NBA culture encourages player movement, he also said, and this is the kicker, that the truly great ones don't need to keep changing the scenery to win. Fans were split immediately. LeBron supporters fired back, saying he elevated every team he joined, that he made his teammates better, that loyalty is an outdated concept in the modern NBA. But the other side, they felt vindicated, because someone with Doc Rivers' resume had finally said what they'd been thinking all along. So, what happened after the quote went viral? Well, the basketball world lost its mind. LeBron himself? Radio silent. No tweets, no Instagram posts, no cryptic subtweets with crown emojis or goat emojis. Nothing. And that silence spoke volumes. Because if there's one thing we know about LeBron, it's that he's never been shy about defending his legacy. He's clapped back at critics before. He's responded to Skip Bayless. He's addressed the haters. But this time, nothing. Maybe his team told him to stay quiet. Maybe he's waiting for the right moment. Or maybe, just maybe, Doc Rivers hit a nerve that even LeBron can't defend against. Meanwhile, the sports media went into overdrive. Stephen A. Smith dedicated an entire segment to it, passionately defending LeBron, while also admitting that Rivers had a point. Shannon Sharpe, one of LeBron's most vocal supporters, tried to flip the narrative, arguing that adaptability and team switching is a form of leadership in itself. Skip Bayless? He practically threw a parade. Finally, someone with real credibility had said what Skip's been screaming for years. Analysts debated it on every major sports network. The comment sections were war zones. LeBron fans called Doc Rivers a hater, accused him of bitterness, said he was clout chasing. But here's the thing. Doc Rivers doesn't need clout. He's got a championship ring. He's got respect. He's got nothing to gain from stirring the pot, which made his words even more powerful. And then there were the fans who agreed with Rivers, the ones who've been saying this for years but got shouted down by LeBron's massive online army. Suddenly, they had ammunition, a credible voice backing up their arguments. The debate wasn't just about stats anymore. It was about legacy, culture, loyalty. things that don't show up on a spreadsheet. The quotes spread beyond basketball circles. Casual fans who don't even watch games started weighing in. It became a cultural conversation. What does it mean to be the greatest? Is it just about talent, or is there something more? Here's why Doc Rivers' comment is bigger than just another GOAT debate argument. It touches on something fundamental that goes beyond basketball: legacy versus achievement. LeBron James has achieved incredible things: 4 championships, 4 finals MVPs, all-time leading scorer, nearly 2 decades of dominance. No one can take that away from him. But Rivers was talking about something else. He was talking about the story, the narrative, the way history remembers you. Michael Jordan is remembered as the guy who stayed, who built a dynasty in Chicago, who turned down opportunities to leave and instead dragged his team to 6 championships through sheer will and competitiveness. Kobe Bryant spent 20 years with one team, endured the rough years, and came out with 5 rings without ever bolting for greener pastures. LeBron's story is different, and that's not necessarily wrong, it's just different. But Rivers was pointing out that in the court of public opinion, in the way legends are built and remembered, that difference matters. It matters to fans. It matters to former players. It matters to the culture of the game. This isn't about discrediting LeBron's talent. It's about acknowledging that greatness has layers. And one of those layers is how you handle adversity. Do you run from it, or do you run through it? Rivers touched a nerve because he articulated something that's been floating around in the basketball consciousness for years. People have felt it, but they didn't know how to say it without sounding like haters. Doc gave them the language, he gave them the framework, and now the conversation has shifted permanently. The GOAT debate will never end. Fans will argue until the end of time, but what Doc Rivers did was reframe the question. It's not just who's better anymore, it's what does greatness actually look like? So let's bring it all back. Did Doc Rivers just end the GOAT debate with one quote? Well, not exactly, because debates like this don't end, they evolve. But what Rivers did was shift the conversation in a way that's impossible to ignore. He reminded everyone that championships aren't created equal, that context matters, that how you win is just as important as how many times you win. And for a lot of people, that's the argument they've been waiting to hear from someone credible. Doc Rivers didn't disrespect LeBron. He acknowledged his greatness, but he also told an uncomfortable truth that LeBron's most loyal fans don't want to hear. That team hopping, super team building, and roster manipulation might win you rings, but it doesn't win you the same kind of legacy. Look, LeBron James is one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. That's not up for debate. But the conversation Doc Rivers started is about something deeper. It's about what we value, what we celebrate, what we pass down to the next generation as the standard of greatness. And that's a conversation worth having. So here's what we want to know. Did Doc Rivers just end the GOAT debate with one sentence, or did he cross a line? Is loyalty and staying with one team a fair part of the legacy conversation, or is that just old-school thinking that doesn't apply to the modern NBA? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from both sides. At the end of the day, Doc Rivers said what a lot of people have been thinking but were too scared to say out loud. And whether you agree with him or not, you can't deny that he just changed the GOAT conversation forever. The debate's not over, but it's definitely never going to be the same. If you want to stay ahead of the biggest basketball stories before they blow up everywhere else, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're covering the drama, the moments, and the quotes that the mainstream media won't touch, because this is just the beginning.